Welcome to the Better Together Here podcast with your hosts Devin
and Ashley,
helping you make the most of your time in New York City.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Better Together Here podcast. My name is Devin.
And my name is Ashley.
And in today's episode, we're doing something we have not done before. We are letting you know about an upcoming event opportunity. It has not happened yet, but it will be occurring May 3rd through 5th. And let me tell you, this is a very unique experience in which you can learn about unique history, events, experiences of New Yorkers, all completely for free. So let's get right into it. This event that we're talking about is called Jane's Walk. So Jane's Walk is a movement of free citizen-led walking conversations inspired by Jane Jacobs. And Jane Jacobs, if you're not aware, was a writer, urbanist, and activist who championed a community-based approach to city building. Honestly, as we were diving into this episode and learning more about Jane Jacobs, she's a really fascinating person who I would like to learn more about and read some of her books, which are extremely popular. But she lived in Greenwich Village up until 1968 and was really influential in helping to preserve a community-centric approach to city planning. And one of her big things that she fought against was the expansion of expressways and roads. This was both here in New York City as well as in Toronto, which is where she lived after leaving Greenwich Village in 1968. Jane's Walk was started in 2006 in Toronto by her friends as a memory to Jane Jacobs, and it has now expanded to over 500 cities worldwide. It's an annual event, and it takes place usually on the first weekend of May. Ideally, it lines up with Jane's birthday, which is May 4th. So we're going to kind of give you the who, what, when, where, and why of Jane's Walk in New York City specifically. If you're listening to this as someone not in New York City, be sure to check your local area because it's possible that your city puts on their own version of Jane's Walk. Again, the main one in Toronto. New York City has, I believe, the largest Jane's Walk group and experience. So we're going to talk about that and why this is something you will not want to miss out on.
So next we're going to talk about who can participate in Jane's Walk. What's really cool about Jane's Walk is that the walking tours are open to the public and absolutely free. You do have to register, and they do, like, certain walks do fill up. Just make sure that if there is one that you find on the website that looks interesting, that you make sure you book it in time, because there were a couple when we were looking at it today that seemed cool and we went to book it and they were already full.
And we will include the link to Jane's Walk NYC where you can register for the different walks. So a little bit more context of what Jane's Walk is specifically in New York City. So it's put on by the Municipal Art Society of New York, and like I mentioned, is one of the first cities outside of Toronto to host a Jane's Walk, and it's just become really, really big. Some highlights and interesting tours. So let me say this. There's 175 plus options that you can participate in. Those include guided tours, self-guided tours, as well as virtual tours. So again, if you're not in New York City, you can still take part in this and learn about the deep history of New York without being here in person.
The website is set up really well where you can filter by the specific borough that you're interested in exploring or the certain type of activity that you're looking to have. So they have virtual tours. They also have in-person guided tours, self-guided tours. So you really can pick and choose exactly what you'd like to do.
And you can also filter by specific days. So if you are only available on Saturday and Sunday, you can omit all the Friday options and get a really comprehensive overview of all the tours that are available. So some of the highlights and ones that we thought looked interesting were, there's one all about the medieval architecture references in Hamilton Heights. There's one called Unpacking the Historic Meatpacking District. Another called Downtown Dames, Historic Women Celebrated in Public Spaces in Lower Manhattan. There's one that I really kind of wish we could go to. Timing doesn't line up, but it's called Pest Propaganda, an ode to the rat and the pigeon. Again, you can see here just the wide variety, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as to goals and the why of Jane's Walk, but it's really about pretty much anybody can host one of these walking tours. There's a submission process, of course, and criteria they have to follow, but it's really about the voices of communities being able to tell their story and let other people learn from them. A couple other cool ones: Radical History of the Village, which we will be attending. Another called Proving Ground, Fighting Fires in the City of New York. Another called The Anti-Connoisseur's Guide to the Parking Lots of Astoria. Very interesting things that you can go and learn about. And the other one that we will be attending is called The City Speaks, Languages, Place, Identity, which just dives into the history and experience of slang and languages in New York City specifically. We'll include the link to go check all these out. I'm telling you, it's free. Most of them are between 60 minutes to 2 hours. It's worth taking the time to go and do this, which leads us to this episode's You'll Have to Check It Out segment, which is Uptie on the Upper East Side. Uptie is a slightly upscale Thai spot serving really unique dishes, including delicious duck options and phenomenal cocktails.
This is probably my favorite Thai spot in all of New York City that we found. We've been here several times, and every time it seems to get better and better, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a great Thai spot, conveniently located on the Upper East Side, definitely check this place out. I definitely recommend trying their specials if you go. Their specials rotate with the seasons. Some of the best specials that we've had are the beef short rib Penang curry and the crispy duck tamarind, I believe, is a special as well, and that is absolutely phenomenal. So I recommend adding in a special with whatever else you'd like to get.
They also have really good cocktails. They have a magical spicy margarita and a lychee teeny. The vegetable pad thai is really good because it's got kind of those really nice thicker vegetables. Sometimes you get pad thai and it's those kind of skinny, stringy, gross veggies. This is the opposite. Really, really good. All that to say, check out Uptie on 2nd Ave. It's near 74th Street on the Upper East Side.
And I definitely recommend going with, even if you're going just with you and another person, get a couple dishes and share. They'll give you a share plate. It's always more fun to be able to do that and try different dishes and have a little bit of everything. So highly recommend getting a couple things and sharing with somebody.
And that's this episode's You'll Have to Check It Out segment, Uptie on Upper East Side. All right, and back to Jane's Walk. So when does it happen? We've kind of talked about this. They try to do it every year close to Jane's birthday, which is on May 4th. So this year it lines up that it is Friday through Sunday, May 3rd through 5th. We mentioned this a little bit, but as for the where of Jane's Walk NYC, it's across all 5 boroughs as well as virtual options. So if you want to learn more about your own neighborhood, there's probably an option. If there's other neighborhoods you're wanting to explore, they are options as well. So again, check out the website, see all the things. We're going to take a quick break to mention our free transportation guide. If you are coming to New York City for the first time or the 10th time and you need a refresher on how to get around the Big Apple, this is the answer. It is 100% free and it covers everything from navigating the subway, getting a taxi, getting to and from the airports, biking around the city, and all the things that are important to make sure you maximize your time in New York City. So go to bettertogetherhere.com and click the button that says free navigation guide to sign up. And we want to close this episode out talking about the why behind this event and a little bit more about Jane Jacobs. I think it's really important as individuals to be more informed about the people in our society who have shaped the world we live in on a more granular level. I think it's really easy to look at historical figures and, people with big names who have their names on hospitals and those types of things. But what I loved about Jane Jacobs as we learned about her is just that she really was all about connecting communities and being a part of a small ecosystem and how the power of city growth and city expansion and creating rich communities is done on a micro level from the ground up and not from the top down, which I think is how we kind of try to approach things nowadays. So it's really refreshing. I'm going to read a quote from Jane's Walk website. And it says, Jane's Walks are a way for neighbors to meet neighbors and for neighbors to build community. Jane's Walk strives to include a wide array of voices and ideas in discussions about cities, neighborhoods, and community engagement. Jane's Walk is different from other initiatives because the community and its buildings, parks, and broader environment are also active players in the walks. They inspire, frustrate, inform, and direct participation in the conversations. Really just all about being better tuned in to what is happening in our communities and the experiences of the people around us, which I think is so important in today's day and age.
One thing I really love about that quote is it says that it's a way for neighbors to meet neighbors. I think sometimes in a giant city like New York City, it's pretty common to just not know your neighbors and not really get to know the people around you. Maybe there's someone that has lived in your exact same building for 40 years. Talk to that person. Maybe they have stories. Encourage them to host a Jane's Walk around your neighborhood and tell you a bunch of stories about all the cool people that lived in your building. I think it's just a really cool way to encourage everyone to just get outside and get to know your neighborhood and get to know your community or learn about a different neighborhood or different community.
Yeah, it's a powerful way to be more connected with the people around you, which when you really boil it all down, that's kind of what Better Together Here is about. At its core is we are about experiences and activities that bring you closer to people with you. And for us, going out to restaurants, going out to bars, exploring these neighborhoods, it's about finding memories and finding experiences and just learning from the people around you. And I think that's really powerful. So we're going to end with the 6 aspects that this event focuses on. This is kind of like Jane's Walk, their core mission and values. So it's number 1, volunteer driven. So I think that's important. I think that the fact that it's free and the fact that the people leading the tours are not making money off of it is important because it changes the dynamic and it makes it more about the experience and not about commercialization. Number 2 is inspired and informed by the world around us. And number 3 is done in whatever way makes sense for you, which I think is good. It's very kind of open format. Again, anyone can apply to be a tour guide for Jane's Walk. It's very much about giving voice to the community.
Going along with that, number 4 is creating an opportunity to hear all voices. I think that's really awesome that anybody can apply and host their own tour, which is really cool to hear about everyone's different perspective on, maybe everyone has a different perspective on the same neighborhood. So this is a really great way to lift up those different voices. Number 5 is encouraging critical engagement with the ideas and legacies of Jane.
Her legacy, it was funny. One of the things I was reading, it was asking like, what is your legacy? What do you think it is? Do you think it's about this type of planning or that type of philosophical engagement about city planning? And her response was no, is more about community, and it is about the people within communities and how communities can thrive. And I think that again is at the core of Jane's Walk, is encouraging us to think about the things that were important to Jane Jacobs, which frankly have shaped New York City specifically in a very large scale.
And the last one, number 6, is recognizing cities are living ecosystems with the past, present, and future.
And that is Jane's Walk NYC 2024. I really, really hope that you go and sign up and register and go on one of these walking tours. We are going on 2. We will report back after and just kind of give a recap on another episode about what our experience was like. But this is an opportunity to have a free event, learn more about the city around you, and be engaged in the community and be a part of the community. If you haven't already, please follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. We read all of those reviews. If you have not already, sign up for our newsletter. We email once a week with important events like Jane's Walk, like restaurants and bars you want to try, like events that are happening. So make sure you're subscribed, bettertogetherhere.com/newsletter. And other than that, we'll catch you on the next episode.